Hello, everybody. My name is Sean English, a reporter, sports and news reporter here at WSBT 22 in South Bend, and I'm joined by a very, very exciting guest, Alexander Rossi, the 2016 champion of the Indy 500. Alexander, thank you so much for meeting with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I got a few questions. I'm gonna rattle them off for you. Really, really exciting stuff. So we're under 100 days, but you've made some recent announcements. Talk to me about joining Ed Carpenter Racing.
Yeah. So this is going to be my 10th season in the championship. I drove for Andretti Autosport for 7 of those years, and then I was with Aaron McLaren for the past 2 years and Team Chevy, and then the opportunity came about with ECR kind of in the middle of last year. ECR went through some pretty major ownership changes in the off season, and brought in some new partners as a result of that. And so the team's really on a huge upward trajectory this off season and going into 2025. So it's a pretty exciting project to be a part of. It was very important to me to stay in the Team Chevy family, and so yeah, I think it was a little bit for me unexpected going into 2024, but the way that it ended up working out is something that I'm hugely excited about going into this weekend. So the first race of the weekend is here in a couple of days, or first race of the week of the year, sorry, is this weekend. And it's been a long off season. The last time any of us really drove a car in anger was Nashville in September. So it's been a long wait, but at the same time, we've needed as a new group and hiring a lot of new individuals to the organization. We've needed that time to kind of, find the best practices and the best flow of communication to how we're going to be successful. We've spent a lot of time on the simulator to help us prepare, but really going into this weekend a little bit blind, because it'll be the first time that we're all at a racetrack together on a race weekend. So it's exciting. It's a little terrifying when you put it that way, but we're up for the challenge and can't wait to get started.
And that's a really unique thing that you just mentioned is I bet a lot of people don't understand the behind the scenes of racing in an off season. And you mentioned a simulator. How often are you training on track when you can with weather permitting, or how often are you training on a simulator?
Yeah, so it's a very unique sport because it costs so much per day to run an Indy car. There's regulations in place that you can't just practice or test whenever you want. There's actually testing blockouts. There's, in essence, since I finished the season in September, I've had 2 days, really a day and a half in the car since then. And the reason for that is they're trying to limit kind of a competitive advantage that could form between a bigger team that has X amount of money to spend versus a smaller team that maybe doesn't have that sort of disposable money to go run a car on track as many times as they want. So in practice, it's a very good thing to have in place. It's very annoying as an individual, as an athlete, as a team, because you don't feel like you can really prepare at all, which is where the simulation side comes into play. It's a very important tool for all of the teams. All of the teams have some form of offline sim, driver in the loop simulation, which in this day and age, it's getting pretty accurate. Like you're never going to replicate, the motion, you're never going to replicate the G-force, but in terms of the track modeling, in terms of the vehicle model, the tire model, it is pretty close. So what that really allows us to do is, through an off season, you have a lot of development items, a lot of items that are built to improve the performance of the car. What you can do is you can take, let's say 20 things, and you can go to the sim and you can try all 20 things and narrow that list down, hopefully in half, hopefully even smaller than that, on things that are worth building, taking to the racetrack, and actually implementing on a race weekend. The reason you can't take all 20 of those things to a race weekend is just because of the limited amount of runtime that you have. So it's a huge tool. It's very important to have the correlation right, to have the models right. But obviously we'd rather drive in real life, but that's just not an option.
And driving in real life, you did that in 2016, and you did that at the top of the line. First rookie to win the Indy 500 since 2001. It was the 100th running of the 500. How cool of an experience was that for you, and just a culmination of all the hard work that you've put in on the off season and during the season and during the race itself to win it and be a champion?
Yeah, it was a surprise, I think, for everyone, including myself. I went into that race as a rookie. I had been in Europe for 8 years leading up to 2016 and didn't have a whole lot of understanding about the NTT IndyCar series, about the Indianapolis 500. And, I was very fortunate to be with an amazing organization and to have, very good teammates and a good team around me that provided me with that opportunity. But, you know, it's uh, it's a life-changing event to win, from a personal standpoint, but also from a career trajectory standpoint. It shaped my future here in the States. Initially in 2016, I came over on a 1 year deal. And here we are going on year 10. So it's a pretty amazing journey that I've been super blessed and fortunate to be on. And now at this point, it's just trying to find a way to get back to victory lane and win another one.
And you've got a long season, and I know that Indy 500 is a little bit further away, but it's the greatest spectacle in racing. And I know everyone says that, but what does this race mean to you, and why is this the greatest spectacle in racing?
That's a good question. And I don't think anyone really knew. Everyone said that, and everyone had their idea of why it was. But I think in 2020, so we ran the race in August behind closed doors, for COVID reasons. And I think it was at that moment that everyone realized that it's the people that make it the greatest spectacle in racing. Because we did the same, it was the same thing, right? It was the same race, the same track, the same 33 drivers, the same pressure, the same format. And the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is filled with 330,000 activities and traditions that go in, 109 years of running this event. And, it being on Memorial Day weekend, it's just such a special, amazing thing to be a part of, and something that every driver looks forward to every single year.
And it kind of cut out a little bit right there, but we can go with the punches and we can keep on going. I don't know if you mentioned it and it cut out, but I'll kind of re-ask again. The concept of driving without the fans there in 2020 during COVID must have been kind of unique and weird because a lot of people will travel far and wide, especially in our state in Indiana, to go to this Indy 500. So apart from the driving, how cool is it to see that the community is coming together and it's a packed house. Everyone loves it.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of, as I was saying, you may not have heard it, but it's the people that make it a spectacle. So it's really an honor for us to be able to be a part of, that championship, to be a part of the race, to earn your spot on the grid. No one's guaranteed a qualifying spot. You have to earn your way onto the field of 33. So it's a huge event for the community, a huge event for the city, the state, and really just the U.S. motorsport landscape in general.
Very well said. Very well said. So this year it's moving to Fox, which is not too much of a change for you because you'll be the one driving. You're not going to be watching, of course. But this is an opportunity for more people to fall in love with the sport and learn more about it. What are some things that you hope people can learn if they haven't already about this great spectacle, the greatest spectacle in racing?
It's the most competitive form of motorsports on the planet. It's a spec series, which means that everyone has the same car. There are two engine manufacturers in Chevrolet and Honda, but ultimately everyone has the same equipment. There are bigger teams, there are smaller teams, but first to last is separated by under a second every single weekend. So truly, there's 12 to 15 guys that can show up each weekend and win. You don't get that necessarily in other forms of racing. You have your heavy favorites that are probably going to be the guys that win week in and week out. IndyCar is very unique in the sense that you can win one race, two race, 2 races a year and still be a champion, just with the way that, it rewards consistency and just how competitive it is. So I think once people realize that and see it, they fall in love with the sport.
And one of my final questions for you is, in Indiana, I feel like racing specifically is a unique thing growing up, and a lot of people have their eyes on it, whether it's go-karts, and a lot of it is because the Indy 500 is there, and a lot of people go and visit it. I myself, I'm a Boilermaker. I went to Purdue, and we do Grand Prix, which we have this amazing track, and we have Grand Prix, and I know Indiana does Little 500, which is a bike race, but it's still the racing atmosphere. And you yourself grew up racing and racing go-karts. I guess my question for you is, how cool is it to see in this state of Indiana, when you're competing at the Indy 500, to see history of young kids aspiring to be Indy 500 winners or racers? And it's not, I want to go play in the NBA, it's, I want to race on this track.
Yeah, it's hugely important for the future of our sport. It's really cool to see the younger generation really getting behind racing and cars, and it's really exciting to me that kids still find it cool and they still aspire to be involved in motorsports, whether that's driving or not. The amount of kids I meet that want to be engineers and work on cars from the other side seems to grow every single year. So it's a huge part of what we do and what we pride ourselves on as a series. Welcoming fans into the paddock and trying to give them as much time as possible to really get the full experience, and to make them feel as much a part of the journey and the race weekend as the rest of us. So, Indiana it's a basketball state, but it's also a motorsport state. And, I've realized that after living here for the past, 6 or 7 years. So it's a cool community to be a part of. And this place comes alive May 1st when it's Indy 500 month. So can't wait for that time. And in the meantime, we'll just do what we can in the first 4 or 5 races of the year and start the season off on strong foot.
That is awesome. Alexander Rossi, thank you so much for joining me today. I know we're all very excited to watch you out there racing, and we're all very excited for the Indy 500. I'm going to let you go. I know you're a busy man, so I really appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to it. So this is me signing off. This is Sean English with WSBT-22. Do you have any final words that you want to say?
Not at all. Thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Perfect. I really appreciate it. You can catch the greatest spectacle of racing on Fox Michiana coming up Memorial Day weekend.
Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to the WSBT 22 YouTube channel.